So go ahead, call me rookie. Find out what I'm packing, because I'm the only reason for some total nonstop action.
Well, after by the way, that was stupid.
Wrestling with regret. Let's get it. Yeah.
Before the salad days of Full Sail University and long before it became the rehabilitation camp for TNA wrestlers that it is today, WWE began NXT with a hope and a dream to replace the ECW brand with something to call their own, to soft launch a bunch of guys toiling away in Florida Championship Wrestling, and to embarrass and devalue all those guys en masse. And well, they certainly accomplished all those things. As I explained in my Season 1 retrospective, that inaugural run of NXT, part wrestling show, part game show, part reality competition, was a neat concept, but with spotty execution. It did a good job introducing fans to new talent, even if some of the competitions they took part in felt like weak ribbing. But I'll admit, there was a hell of a lot of upside. WWE didn't have long to reflect on a job well done, as they had to turn things around for Season 2 the week after the finals, and that meant a whole new crop of FCW talent. With a few tweaks, this could be a chance for it to truly be that next evolution that was originally promised. But this being WWE in 2010, obviously staying the course in spite of all sense and logic was the correct thing to do. While the first season had the benefit of being a relatively new experience, the second go-around picked up where the last one left off, and it exposed just how thin these writers were being stretched. More rookies, more pros, more whack-ass challenges that proved nothing, and oh yeah, even more heel Michael Cole. Gag me already. So join me this week as I return to the original Black and Yellow brand before it got into its death metal phase with Season 2 of NXT. But first, if you haven't yet, be sure to subscribe to this channel and hit that bell icon so you can be notified when more stuff like this drops. Episode 1 opens up with a recap of the Nexus's shocking debut on Raw the previous night. And you know what? For as much pressure as those guys had to have been under when that angle started, imagine how it must have felt for the next guys. Okay, follow that, fuckers! From there, the rest of the show feels like a copy and paste of what came before it. The same graphics, the same color scheme, the same Wild and Young by American Bang. If you're afraid of change, this was your jam. But we did get all new pairings of rookies and pros. Oh my goodness, look how small they made John Morrison in order to make the 7-foot-plus Eli Cottonwood look even bigger. It almost makes you wonder if that's the only identifiable trait about him.
Of all the rookies in NXT Season 2, my rookie is definitely the tallest.
Let's break down the other pairings. There was a returning Miz with the varsity villain Alex Riley, Cody Rhodes mentoring fellow Nepo wrestler Husky Harris, co-women's champs Lay Cool managing Koval, the former Low-Key, Mark Henry with Lucky Cannon, Intercontinental champ Kofi Kingston with Michael McGillicuddy, MVP with Percy Watson, and Zack Ryder with Titus O'Neil. Like last season, the coaches spent every episode sitting on stage or standing on the apron for their rookies during matches. Anytime we see them up there, they look as if they drew the short straw. Well, except for the Miz, I guess, because he seems to be truly in his element. Of all the rookies in this crop, I felt the most sympathetic toward Michael McGillicuddy. Why? It's all because of that name. And not just the name, but what the name replaced. How could Joe Hennig, the son of Mr. Perfect himself, Kurt Hennig, grandson of Larry the Axe Hennig, be reduced to this? I get that the company probably wanted him to try and gain a following on his own merit, but if you're gonna do that, then why do they still mention his lineage? And of all the names, McGillicuddy? Really? Do these guys even think of what it's gonna look like on a shirt?
He has the support of all of you, who will from this point forward be known as the McGilla Buddies.
Oh God, how'd that not kill his career on the spot? And look, I know they said that he chose that name because it was his mother's maiden name. But first of all, if Wikipedia is to be believed, that's not even true. And even if it was, who the hell'd she ever beat? You know, matter of fact, I'm so against that name, I'm not even gonna use it for him anymore. From now on in this video, I'm just gonna call him McG for short, because it can't be much worse. Speaking of next-gen talent with questionable rebrands, there was Wyndham Rotunda, the son of IRS, given the very unfortunate name of Husky Harris to draw immediate attention to one thing.
He's interesting, he's intriguing, but he's fat.
And let's call it like it is, that's bullshit. As with McG, Husky's family tree was also brought up a lot despite having a different name. I wonder why they didn't rename Joe Hennig as Muscly Mike or something equally silly. Also, I thought it was weird that they featured not just one, but two third-generation wrestlers in the same season. Seems less special that way, yeah? Like a lot of fans, I didn't know much about the rest of the cast going into it, but just from the eyeball test, Alex Riley and McG were my early picks to win the whole thing. Of the guys I knew nothing about, I thought Riley seemed to come into this with the most polish and the best presentation of a WWE star. He was practically ready-made from the jump. His pairing with The Miz felt like a natural fit that would prime him for a victory. Though I did think the "I was cool in high school" gimmick was pretty tacky, especially for a guy who already looked to be in his 40s.
And Alex Riley has got a Letterman's jacket, and believe it or not, I think the Riley is bejeweled.
But of all the competitors, the one who intrigued me the most was Kaval. Like his Season 1 counterpart in Daniel Bryan, low-key had already spent years traveling the world for various promotions, helping lay the groundwork for today's modern style. His background and experience was much different from that of his competition, and it was obvious that WWE put him in a similar position to Bryan. But not only was low-key objectively less charismatic than Bryan Danielson, he also had somewhat of a negative reputation at the time.
From Loki takes Chris Hero. Oh! There's the bell!
Wow, yeah, I cannot wait to see how he'll fit into this culture. And if I were a betting man, I'd wager that his pairing with LayCool was also done to mess with him. It felt like they tried to replicate the Miz-Daniel Bryan dynamic, but with a touch more humiliation. Haha, this badass indie warrior with a deep voice is being mentored by girls.
Yay! Property of LayCool!
However, slowly but surely, the three finally did kind of start to gel together, which is honestly a lot more than I could say for most of the pairings this season. By and large, there's just no chemistry or connection or growth between the rookies and their pros, except maybe for Cody and Husky. I mean, at least last season we saw Heath Slater and Christian in the gym together at one point. Maybe all the world building is happening more on Raw or SmackDown because it's not on this show, but surely that's not going to be a hindrance to enjoying it, right? In the first episode of the season, host Matt Stryker explains the rankings will now be determined by both the pros and an online fan vote, which means that unlike last time, being likable could actually make an impact on the outcome. A gift or a curse? By the end of this video, you decide. After another somber recap of the Nexus ransacking Raw the previous night, we finally get our first match of the season, Morrison and Cottonwood versus Ryder and O'Neal. Gotta admit, I cannot think of a less intimidating big man in wrestling, except maybe for Giant Gonzalez in the silly bodysuit. But besides that, when it comes to presence, posture, frame, character, it's gotta be Cottonwood.
I would describe my in-ring style as very dominating and dark, to inflict pain and carnage amongst all the people who step in my path.
Yes, very believable, sir. After a couple of matches, everyone got back in the ring to talk about the Nexus attack for the third time in this 46-minute episode. All the rookies were asked whether or not they condoned the actions of the Season 1 guys, and most said some variation of, "I don't agree with it, but you gotta hand it to him for making an impact." McG mocked the other guys for their bad answers, then proceeded to give his own equally terrible answer.
NXT Season 1 guys did make a huge impact, and that's all that matters in this business. That's the same kind of impact.
Thank you very much.
The episode ends when all the pros beat up the rookies as a form of initiation and to quell any potential rebellions from this new class. Sure, you definitely won't radicalize them that way. The next couple of weeks stayed the course. A few video packages for the rookies, hype packages for the pros for some reason, and a couple of quick, bland matches. For the first few weeks of competition, after each match we'd get a quick word from the winner and the loser, then we'd hear from the coaches in the ring, then a little bit from a coach on stage. These were all very boring and stupid, and they got cut after a few weeks. Matt Stryker did a fine enough job as the host of NXT, though he did get roughed up a couple of times and it went nowhere. Partway through the season, NXT also welcomed Ashley Valance and Jamie Keys as ring announcers, neither of whom seemed suited for the job. You could tell from Keys' build that perhaps this was her soft debut before becoming a wrestler. More on that later. As for Valance, the poor girl was deer in the headlights from the word go. She was giving that one interview lady from the American Wrestling Federation a run for her money.
Ladies and gentlemen, welcome to NXT! And making an impact and standing out tonight is not something you should do, but something you have to do.
Can we eliminate Ashley?
Spoiler alert, she will not make it to the end of the year. The commentary is still a weak point on the show. Without going into too much detail, yeah, Michael Cole still sucks as a burgeoning heel character, and his growing alienation of fans remains one of the strangest things WWE ever leaned into. I like when Josh Matthews calls him out on stuff, but more often than not, it was becoming the Cole comedy craptacular. After a few weeks, we finally began to see these characters get fleshed out and develop some followings. Early on, the most popular guys were Kaval and Watson, and despite moving around like he had ants in his pants, I thought Showtime was very entertaining in his role. He had great facial expressions, he was a fun talker, he even stole an iconic catchphrase, and I can't recall anyone calling him out for it because he just delivered it differently.
Let me hear you say it, baby. Oh yeah!
So the gimmick wasn't perfect, but it was clear that he had some upside. I've always wondered how his career never really went anywhere.
Something about Percy Watson that just makes you want to see more of Showtime Percy Watson.
I guess it'll always remain a mystery. By week 4, we finally got the first challenge of the season, our old favorite, the keg carry. Really? It took 4 weeks to get to the challenges? I never thought I would say this, but I think we could have used the whimsy and the variety much earlier than here. Of all the challenges we'd see this season, this one seemed the most, well, challenging. Half the guys couldn't finish, while Kaval didn't even try, knowing that the keg weighed almost as much as he did. And even though Lucky did get a great time, Percy was robbed by whoever was working the clock. If you're bummed out that this cast of characters is somehow more bland than the last, don't worry, because the challenges are also now as boring as humanly possible as well. They changed up the obstacle course a little, but a lot of the guys could barely finish it, or simply chose not to. Then there was a special challenge where the guys had to take turns kissing an overweight woman without any makeup on. Oh, the horror. And she also looked to have chocolate on her face, or herpes, it was never made clear. And then to top it all off, nobody won anything from that. Cool were just being dicks. Still, A-Rai should have gotten something for giving it gusto. My favorite moment from these challenges came when they all took turns on one of those boxing strength games, and Kaval kicked the bag instead of punching it and got a horrible number as a result. Talk about a gimmick killer for Mr. Kicks. As silly as these challenges were, they were still kind of a defining characteristic of NXT, so for them to be so uninspired was kind of disappointing. I'm not saying that selling programs or drinking soda really fast did a better job at determining who the next breakout star was, but there had to be a better way than by answering some of the wimpiest WWE trivia questions.
Which WWE Hall of Famer was the very first Intercontinental Champion? The kill switch is the finishing maneuver of which superstar? Kaval. Here comes the axe, and here comes the smasher.
Besides, everyone knows having an encyclopedic knowledge of wrestling won't get you anywhere. Unless you can monetize it for YouTube, that is. But no challenge leveled the playing field more than promo class. Nearly every week, the rookies had opportunities to cut quick promos about why they should win, why the other guys shouldn't win, that sort of thing. It got pretty repetitive, but at least the ones who were already good got to have more reps.
Maybe I shouldn't have thrown a rabbit's foot at a guy named Lucky Cannon. I mean, that's a little disrespectful. And Lucky, if you're watching, don't worry about not having the job thing, man. The world needs plenty of bartenders.
But the devil wears cowboy boots. What a coincidence. So do I.
But episode 5 is the one everyone talks about from this season, the official Talk the Talk challenge. Just like last time, the boys were given a non-wrestling topic and gave it a go.
I wear these glasses because I feel like you have to have the vision to know where you're going, you know what I'm saying?
I am in no relation to the subject at hand. I am not a chicken.
And by the end of NXT, I'm gonna take your breath away.
Well, you don't deserve to hear me talk, and that's it.
I'm like that deodorant, and the WWE is like that smelly guy. You see, I need the WWE.
It's just 6 pigeons.
Yeah.
And don't worry, folks, we've not forgotten about Eli Cottonwood.
Your topic is mustache.
As read by Claude.
Bonjour, regretteurs. Je m'appelle Claude. What is a mustache? Ha ha ha. It's a little bit of hair growing on the upper lip. I don't have one. Nobody else here has one. But you know what? A mustache is for a real man. You see, of all of these people here, I have the best mustache of all. Give me a couple more days, I will have a nice, thick mustache. But none of these boys here will have one. Ooh, zut alors. Such a way with words. Such passion, such art.
Man, Claude, you've gotten weird since your repackaging.
I know.
Warriors, combatants, champions. Pro wrestling's rings have seen the globe's most fearless and decorated innovators of combat sports grace its canvases. But how many of history's greats have wrestled in every major federation in the world for over 3 decades? WWE, WCW, TNA, ECW, ROH. Forget halls of fame. It's time to honor 2 true heroes of the sport. For the first time ever, the Insane Clown Posse opens up their archives to you, documenting their decades-long journey in pro wrestling. From their days promoting in the backyards of Detroit, to their days on WWE pay-per-view, to the creation of Juggalo Championship Wrestling. You're along for the entire ride in this massive, full-color, glossy coffee table book featuring more than 300 rare images. Hear their entire story in wrestling, featuring brand new interviews with Eric Bischoff, Vince Russo, Jeff Jarrett, Todd Gordon, Rob Van Dam, and ICP themselves. Hundreds of pages, hundreds of pictures, hundreds of matches. One big-ass book. ICP, Unaccepted, Volume 1, The Wrestling. On sale exclusively at shop.insaneclownposse.com.
As the weeks went on, the eliminations piled up. Titus O'Neil was the first man out at week 6, but stayed classy and told everybody to make it a win. Then it was Eli Cottonwood's turn, then Lucky Cannon, who honestly was so uninteresting I couldn't find much that he did worth recapping. I don't know, I feel like this season could have wrapped up in about half the time if the weeks in between the elimination rounds were going to be so meaningless. Like, why are we having these 15-minute pro versus pro matches on a show about rookies? From here on out, it got a lot more difficult trying to figure out who was going to go home next. Alex Riley and Husky Harris were both great characters, but were openly antagonistic to half their voter base. McGee had a 6-win unbeaten streak at the first part of the season and was booked stronger than anyone, but his character seemed to lack any kind of direction. He waffled between face and heel too much. Percy Watson was a good talker and had grown a lot in popularity, and then there was Kaval, who was not only booked way more competently than Daniel Bryan had been just a couple of months ago, but was strongly on top for most of the polls. It shouldn't come as a surprise since the online vote made up half of the rankings, and let's face it, Kaval had a hardcore online following from before he got signed. And while on the surface that may seem cool to Michael Cole / Vince McMahon, it is a terrible disgrace.
Kaval's got everybody kissing his rear end on the internet like Brett Favre does. That doesn't surprise me with the internet voting. And I said Kaval was an internet creation. Kaval is here because of the internet, period.
Yeah, man, constantly shitting on a big portion of your audience, that is a surefire way to grow. Like he did to Bryan in Season 1, Cole ragged on internet darling Kaval relentlessly throughout the competition, mocking him for his size, his look, and his voice.
Talked to Kaval earlier tonight. Kaval confident that he's safe from tonight's double elimination.
Can he talk to you like this in that low voice when you talk to him?
That's his voice, so of course he did.
Can you believe that shit? Honestly, I mean, if they're already doing it, then what's the point of me doing it? Episode 11 featured a double elimination, and by the end of the night, Percy and Husky were kicked off the island. The following penultimate episode gave us the trivia challenge I mentioned earlier, which, while it was dumb, did have some genuinely funny moments, like their response to the question, what did the dynamic dudes carry with them to the ring?
Dynamic dudes, remember them? Guys, really? Best of luck in all of your future endeavors.
Despite that hiccup, Kaval cleaned house in the challenge and won a feature article on the website. Whoop-de-fucking-do. It's time for the finals, and it's down to Kaval, Riley, and McGee. A-Rai winds up winning the customary triple threat match, and you'd think that would help his cause, but you'd be wrong, as the varsity villain was the first man to be cut that night. Hey, did they steal that X from the old XWF logo? Before we learned the ultimate winner, the show took time to introduce the pros and rookies for NXT Season 3, Ladies Edition. We get early looks at Naomi, Maxine, Oksana, ring announcer turned wrestler Jamie Keys, a suddenly once again active in 2025 AJ Lee, and the 6'9" Aloysia. And if you remember her time being on the show, no you don't. We got one more promo off between the top two competitors. Kaval's speech was a classic babyface underdog promo, talking about his humble upbringing and the hard work that brought him here, while McGee,
Did you seriously submit your adopted ninja baby into the NXT competition? I don't know whether to spank ya or breastfeed ya.
So yeah, Kaval's the winner here, right?
For Kaval!
Somehow, in spite of his size, his style, his indie background, his weird pairing with Lay Cool, and his unfortunate ring attire, Kaval won the whole enchilada. But before we get to hear him talk, let's get McGee back on the mic for some reason.
Attendez! Can Claude have this one?
Oh, sure man, go for it.
Oh, merci. Starting this moment, from now, from this moment on, this will be the moment, starting now, of the genesis of McGillicuddy. Wow, he really did not want this job, did he?
But just as Kaval was starting his victory speech, he got jumped by all the losers to close out the show. It's like when the Nexus debuted, only way, way shittier. P.S. Kaval has since said in interviews that he was the only one not made aware there was going to be a show-ending beatdown. Welcome to WWE, land of trust. And that's how Season 2 of NXT ended. And boy, that was time spent. It didn't take long for NXT to lose its focus and become the neglected child of WWE programming, and you can see that transition at a lightning-quick rate here. On a show that already felt fly-by-night, things are already starting to feel more phoned in and lifeless. I thought the Nexus looked bored sitting on stage when they came back on episode 6, but imagine how the pros must have felt being there every week. This does not give me a great deal of confidence, as I know Season 3 is looming ahead. Like with the guys on Season 1, the long-term success of this cast varied wildly. Shortly after NXT wrapped up for them, McGee and Husky Harris both joined up with the Nexus for a while. After that ran its course, they would change their names to Curtis Axel and Bray Wyatt respectively, and go on to much better things. Axel spent loads of time in the mid and lower card, and even briefly spent time as a backstage producer. And of course, despite all the back and forth booking, Bray would become this season's biggest success story, a multiple-time world champion and a beloved character before his untimely passing. Titus O'Neil's gone on to become one of WWE's biggest ambassadors, and Percy Watson spent a lot of time on the NXT commentary team at Full Sail before being replaced by Beth Phoenix. Lucky Cannon's NXT story is not yet complete at this point in the timeline, though Eli Cottonwood would go back to FCW and even be an early member of the Wyatt family before leaving the business entirely. And despite his prominent alignment with The Miz early on, Alex Riley would fail to achieve any significant success in WWE, but I just can't see the reason why. Then there was the big winner Kaval, who upon moving up to the main roster, spent months building a terrible win-loss record before cashing in his guaranteed title match on Intercontinental Champ Dolph Ziggler at Survivor Series in a losing effort. He would be gone from WWE a month later, despite winning the competition, so yeah, hell of an investment by WWE there. And hey, low-key, that'll teach you a lesson for winning a popularity contest. Back to TNA with you. But what did you think of Season 2 of NXT? Who are your favorite guys from the competition? Let me know in the comments. And if you think this show is getting weird now, imagine how it's going to be when the ladies get involved. Buckle in, folks, because Season 3 will get weird coming in November. But until then, I'm Brian Zane, and I'll see you next time.